Today, on Be Something Wonderful, here's the answer to lack and other intrusive thoughts. I am your host, Tom Karen, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. In one of my sessions yesterday, one of my clients brought up the idea of unwanted thoughts that she actually called intrusive. And this idea of feeling that she doesn't have her desire, feeling the lack of what she wants, right? And then seeing the 3D world show her something different, right? She's seeing things that are unwanted and believing it. But hear this, guys, this idea of intrusive thoughts. That was probably the third time I heard it in the comments on the channel. So there was a lot of synchronicities in this session yesterday. And then I think I had a later session with one of my clients who also was talking about unwanted thoughts. But in this case, she got it. She's transcending them, right? Every time I talk to her, she looks brighter and more divine and just this lovely light that's coming out of her. And what does she say? She goes, Tom, when I see them, what I say to them is that she doesn't live there anymore. Wow. Can you hear this? This is an idea that I've talked about in a few videos ago, that every thought, every memory, every belief has an address in infinity, right? And so it's not retained in your brain. You're pointing to an address in infinity. And when you do that, when you remember something that you don't want, when you imagine something that you don't want, when you're looking at something you don't want, you're going to an address where you don't live there anymore. But when you do look, when you do imagine, when you do remember, you're implying that you do live there. Do you hear this? So she uses that technique, I don't live there anymore, right? I don't think like that anymore. I don't believe like that anymore. That's powerful, right? Lack doesn't exist unless you create it. Right? You are already one with divinity. You were born with everything. It's all within you. God, how would it be possible that you're an aspect of God, that you were made in God's image, that you have all the creative powers of God, that you're one? Remember, God in infinity is a hologram. So every part of the whole contains the whole and is everywhere and is everything. You're that. Lack doesn't exist unless you believe it. Seeing is believing. So therefore, only believe what you want to see. And more than that, only imagine what you want to see. Only remember what you want to see. Right? Because remember, you're going to an address where you don't live there anymore. But if you go to that address in infinity, you live there. It's implied that you live there. Do you hear this, right? You were born with already having it all. You are divine. You were blessed with the same creative powers of God and the free will to choose which state of consciousness you desire to abide and dwell. Wow. That's big. So, intrusive thoughts. Remember, thoughts are just thoughts. Whether you label them and believe them is your choice. Remember, you have the free will to choose. But they're just thoughts. And you get to decide where you live in infinity. Where are you going to dwell? What mansion of God are you going to choose? Right? In my Father's house are many mansions. There's many addresses. There's many dwelling places, right? You don't have to think like that anymore. She doesn't live there anymore. This is my client that's just shining so bright now every time I talk to her. And this is what she says when she gets a, quote, an intrusive thought, an unwanted thought. She just doesn't go there. She doesn't live there anymore, right? You get to choose lack or love. That's the only choice. The 3D world of limitation and lack, or God's world of love and light. When you say she doesn't live there anymore, or I don't live there anymore, you're choosing love and light, right? When you turn towards God, God turns towards you and comes running to you to meet you and embrace you with the abundance that's already yours. Remember, we talked about this, the prodigal son. Well, that's a quote from the prodigal son. Prodigal son, the two sons, right? The second son, Father, give me the share of the estate that falls to me. All that is, this is the first part. God, Father, give me the share of the estate that falls to me. This is the second son demanding that God give him what is rightly his. Right? Interesting. Right? Remember, it's already within you. You don't have to demand it from God. It's already yours. Think of this. So when you're feeling lack, when you're desiring something and wanting something and believing it's not yours, and you feel like you're affirming and imagining and still not getting what you want, you're demanding that God give you what falls to you. But it's already within you. How do you get it then? That's it. How do you really get it? Well, you get it by assuming that state of consciousness, by already being that which you want to be and already having that which you want to have, because it already is yours. Remember, all that is mine is yours. Luke 15:31 in the prodigal. That was what the father said to the first son, right? Like the prodigal, when you don't assume, occupy, and claim the state of your wish already fulfilled, you are making demands on that unconditional awareness, Father, infinite intelligence. When you don't assume it, that it's already yours, when you're entertaining, quote, intrusive thoughts, when you're labeling them, when you're getting stuck on them, you're living there now, right? And you're not living within the dwelling place that everything's already yours. Do you see that, guys? You're making demands on unconditional awareness, making demands on God to just give it to you anyway. When it's already yours, but you've got to acquire it, you've got to assume it. You're the operant power. It's within you to do it, right? Looking for your desires and fulfillment in the 3D world. You're looking for and demanding something that's already within you. That's what the story of the second son, right? Looking for the 3D world. He went out and blew his inheritance, right? Looking for the 3D world for fulfillment, to fulfill his desire, demanding his inheritance from the father. Wow, that's powerful. It was said, the younger son went on a journey into a distant country, and there he squandered his estate with loose living. Hear this. What does really loose living means? It doesn't. We're not talking about partying. It could have been, but it's more about loose living, meaning you're focused on the 3D world to feel that fulfillment, to feel fulfilled. You're not going within to feel it. You're looking in the outside world. Where's my desire so I can feel fulfilled? That's loose living, right? That's living fast and loose with your desires. And you're squandering that spiritual substance that's already within you. Do you hear it? You already have it all. 3D focus, a lower state of consciousness, self-imposed separation from source. You went to a far country. What does that mean? Separating from your oneness with God, from your oneness with that I am, from your oneness that all your desires are already yours. You are creating that separation between you and everything you want, right? That lack is created by you. That lack doesn't exist. Right? The prodigal wasted his spiritual substance, cutting himself off from the divine inexhaustible supplies. That supply is inexhaustible. But if you're looking to the 3D world, then you're not connected and aligned with it. You're not hooked up to that divine supply, right? Like the prodigal, when you look to the 3D world for fulfillment, you get tangled up in temporary conditions, right? You leave the Father. You give up everything for nothing. And I think A Course in Miracles says that, right? Talks about it's nothing, right? You give up everything for nothing when you're looking for the 3D world for fulfillment. That's what the second son did. Leaving the Father, you give up everything. Leaving that unconditioned awareness, leaving that I amness, leaving the source of who you are, to look for it in the outside world, to demand it, to want it, but not imagine it, not occupy it, not merely just claim it and assume it. Big. So, and then it said with the second son, he began to be impoverished. And he said no one was giving him anything. No one was giving him anything. Think of the impact here. No one can think, feel, and believe for you. No one can rise in consciousness for you. You're going to be impoverished if you're looking to others for fulfillment. If you're looking for a person to make you happy. If you're looking for a job or a promotion to fill in that space of fulfillment, right? Those are nice things to add on to you, to have have love in your life, have someone special, have the money, have the job, have the car, the house. That's nice. That's added on to you. But first go for the kingdom within, right? No one can rise in consciousness for you. No one can claim you're good already within you. Only you can do that, right? It's all you. God can't give you what you're not giving yourself, right? And then it says here, the second son says this, as the second son was feeling impoverished, right? Spiritually impoverished, right? Didn't have the substance, that spiritual bread that the Bible refers to as bread. That's the spiritual substance. Here's what he says. How many of my father's hired men have more than enough bread? More than enough bread, more than enough spiritual substance. Hired men, states of consciousness. That means that you're following the law. Following the law of assumption, or following the law of attraction, or following the spiritual principles just for your desires, just to get the house, just to get the girl or the guy, or the relationship or the marriage, just to get that stuff. You're not because you want the spiritual substance and want the oneness with God. You're doing it because you want to get that out of it. So that's what he called the hired men. But they do have, you can attract like that by following the law. By assuming your wish fulfilled, even if it's just for the purpose of getting those desires that are already within you, then you can do that. But what he's getting at here is those are hired men. That's a lower state of consciousness. It's not the highest state of being one with that divinity, of going for the spiritual substance of God first, going for the kingdom and having everything else added onto you, right? And he says here, but I am dying. I'm dying here with hunger. So how many of my father's hired men have more than enough bread? Of course you do. You can follow the law of assumption and imagine your wish fulfilled. And you can attract good things to your life. This is what some of you have said. Like, they don't understand why people they're judging as bad people or immoral people or people that act contrary to what you believe is good, why they have everything they want or why they're attracting things in their life. Well, you don't know exactly what their desires are. They could be miserable or they could not have what they really want. But for sure, they're like the hired men. They have more than enough bread, right? They have things that they know how to imagine. They know how to assume, right? Regardless of what you judge as good or bad, right? Remember, the law is impersonal. It's that hunger. What are you dying of? You're dying of that hunger. You're dying to know that you create your own reality. That's why you want to know the law. That's why you want to know God, to know your creative powers, to know that you can have anything, that you can walk like Jesus did with nothing and everything will be added on to you. That's what you really want. That's the power. Once you have that, then you can't lose anything because it's always in consciousness and that's where you're dwelling, right? It's all yours. Wow, that's big. So let's hit this a little bit more. Man should not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. This is Matthew 4:4. This is what Jesus said. You are made of and come from spiritual substance of God, or come from that bread, right? But if you're just you can't live by bread alone. In other words, you can't just live knowing that. You must be the operative power. You must acclaim it. You must assume it. It's not merely enough sitting there, okay, I'm made of that divine substance, so where's my stuff? God, give me my stuff. You've got to activate it. You've got to be the power. You've got to imagine. You've got to assume. You've got to claim it. That's big, right? Not every word of your mouth. That means that your inner talking, what you're imagining, the story you're telling yourself, all of that. You're going to live by all of that. Either it's wanted or unwanted, but you're going to live by what you're imagining. You're going to live by what you're telling yourself, your inner talking, your story. You're going to be living by what you're thinking, feeling, and believing and assuming, right? Not just that by bread alone, not just by your divinity as God, because you were born divine. But if you're just living on that and not being the operative power, not claiming it, that's why you don't feel fulfilled. That's why you're searching for that fulfillment, right? To create, manifest, perceive, and receive what you want, you must rise in consciousness and claim it, occupy it, assume it, and embody it. Do you see this, guys? That's all it is. Whether you what you want to call it creating reality, manifesting reality, perceiving reality, receiving reality, it's all within you anyway. And you must just claim and assume it and embody it and become it, right? Imagine, assume it, match your inner talking to your new state of wish fulfilled. Surrender to your wish fulfilled, the new state. Intrusive thoughts, unwanted conditions, negative feelings can't exist if you say, I don't live there anymore. Just like my client that she's beautiful. I mean, the light shining from her is incredible. Her energy is so bright, so powerful now. She doesn't live there anymore, right? Remember, those thoughts, move to the original thought. What's the original thought? Love. The love of God. That was the first thought, because that's what God is. God's only thought is love, and it was the first thought. Move to that, and everything will be added onto you. This is the answer to lack and other intrusive thoughts. I am your host, Tom Karen, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button, like and share our videos. That's how we get our message out. You can follow us on Facebook at Be Something Wonderful. We also have a group that's growing and growing and growing called the Be Something Wonderful Ambassadors at facebook.com/group/Be Something Wonderful. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Tom Karen, or visit our website anytime at tomkaren.com or besomethingwonderful.com. Guys, with great love, with great light and infinite gratitude, see you soon.